Going through a divorce was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but it ended up saving my life and turning me into an entirely different person. When I was growing up as a kid, I was always the shy, quiet kid, didn't know how to socialize and communicate my feelings. I remember I'd have a couple close friends, but I wasn't the popular kid, and I always wanted to be that. I remember watching TV shows like Saved by the Bell or like Beverly Hills 90210, where there was always the popular kid, and I always wondered why that wasn't me, or I guess I was just born this way, I took this mindset all the way up through through high school. I desperately wanted girls to like me. I wanted to be, the popular kid, Zach Morris. And that never happened. I was still very quiet and shy. I never learned social skills. So I stayed to myself, and I had the bright idea that, if they're not gonna like my personality, I guess I'll be the guy who does drugs and is the cool, outcast. So I started smoking weed a lot, drinking a lot of alcohol, just trying to be the cool guy that fit in. And I made some friends that way. And I thought, this is fun. They're fun guys. I like to meet new people. Kept that up until, I was 18. And still never really had a girlfriend. I had a couple of girls who liked me, but they showed interest in me. I was never capable of showing any interest in them. And this kept up until, I was 22. I met the girl who would become my wife. And she chose me, I was happy that somebody wanted to be with me, that I had a girlfriend that liked my personality. We had fun together. And, somebody actually wanted to be with me. I had to lock this down, I didn't want to be alone forever. I did notice there's a lot of red flags to start that relationship. There was a couple times where I had thought about breaking up with her, but I didn't have any other options, and I thought if I lost her, I would be, she was the one. So we did end up getting married. I was excited and worried at the same time. Like I said, there was a lot of red flags. She was a very insecure person, like I was. She would get very jealous of if I talked to somebody or if I was working out. She would accuse me of cheating. A lot of things, a lot of issues. I had similar issues too, so I don't blame her for any of that. It's just, I could tell that this is not a relationship that I wanted. But once you're married, I was always raised being told you have to stay with it. You got married, you have to fight through thick and thin, even if, it's not the best relationship. And I think some of that came from my parents' relationship. I never saw them being affectionate with each other. I never saw them kiss each other. They don't talk great about each other. They don't like to even hang out with each other. So I guess I just assumed that's what marriage was. You spend some time together. You obviously do love each other, but you want to do, you're just not getting by, or you are just getting by. For me, because of her and my insecurities, I didn't work out at the gym. I just played video games all the time. I remember I would think, I hope she comes home late today so that I can just play my video games even longer. My life revolved around being mediocre at my job, which was just a means to make some money, nothing I was good at. I was actually terrible at it and never really wanted to do it, but it paid me enough. But yeah, so I would play video games all day. Then on the weekends, we were in small town Wisconsin, so it was always, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? And it was just not a very good relationship. We could have fun together, obviously. We did still love each other, I guess, but it just wasn't working out. And because you're supposed to just work it out, we went through this up and down cycle, several times over 12 years. There's several times we should have broken up, but we didn't, and we just kept going. Maybe that's how it's supposed to work out. because my life ended up changing drastically after the divorce. But while we were married, because I was comfortable with where I was and I thought I was pretty much stuck with this girl, I can't just get divorced, so why do I need to improve? But we did go through some tough times, and I started looking at ways to become a better man. You know, at the time, I had been overweight, so I was starting to get high cholesterol, and I was addicted to eating fast food every day for lunch, so I was not the healthiest guy at all. And, you know, I thought that was the way it was. That's how my dad is. He's overweight, he watches TV, he plays video games, he likes his marriage. They've been married for 30 years. That's what you're supposed to do. So, comes time, we're, you know, having some fights around, I think maybe January of 2017. And I start realizing that if this is gonna be over, I need to start learning how to improve myself. And I learned some ways to be more charismatic so that I could meet new people, make new friends. And I started working out. I started going to the gym, and this made her very jealous again, assuming that I was gonna leave her and start cheating on her. So I reverted back to just being comfortable, staying at home, making sure she was my priority. I didn't have any boundaries. It was whatever you want, whatever's gonna make you happy, I'll do that. And obviously that doesn't lead to a good relationship. Women want you to have strong boundaries and to have a purpose. So we tried to work it out, I don't know, for the 10th time. And fast forward a few more months, it becomes her birthday, and she comes home and tells me that she's met somebody else, and it's over. So obviously I'm devastated. I thought she was supposed to be the one. I know we had issues, but we've been working it out. But with that was the final straw. Like, there was just no going back after that, which luckily for me, she decided that it was 100% over. I still would have been the guy that probably would have taken her back, thinking, yeah, I know you made a mistake, but you know, we're supposed to be together, and you're supposed to work it out no matter what. Which, honestly, I could only imagine it would have been the same cycle over the last 7 years. If we stayed together, I would still be overweight, no social skills. She might have left again because I had nowhere to go. I had no options. I was limiting my potential to make her happy, to feel comfortable in the relationship, and yeah, just to cope, I guess. But, you know, it did end up, she did say it was over, 100%. She moved out. I was devastated for a couple weeks, you know, imagining her with this other guy. He must be way better than me. I was taking it very personal, like it was an attack on me, like I'm not good enough. But in reality, our relationship wasn't very good. She had her insecurities, I had mine. I wasn't being a good husband. I thought I was being a good husband. You know, I provided. I would take her on trips. We would do things together. But I didn't have any, like I said, I didn't have boundaries. I wasn't masculine. I didn't know how to have good sex. I was very much just a boy who was pretending to be a man. I didn't learn anything from my father to be a man. So I don't blame her for wanting to leave. I'm glad it's over. But I do remember specifically having to accept that it was over. And I remember reading Tony Robbins or Jim Rohn, probably both, talking about how you can either keep doing what you're doing or you can change and just become a different person. It's a personal responsibility. So that's what I've learned over the years is I don't blame her for her actions. I don't blame my parents for how they raised me. Everything comes down to my responsibility. And, you know, some of that came from, I mentioned in the last video, Sum 41. Just that mindset shift of I can change, I can be a different person. I can learn social skills, I can figure out how to dress better, I can lose weight, I can become a guy with boundaries, I can travel, I can experience new things. All these limitations I'm setting on myself, telling myself I can't do this. But your thoughts, what you think is what happens in your life. And so I started thinking about, the possibility of what could I become if I started working out? What could I do if I moved out of Wisconsin? Who could I become if I started my own business? You just keep progressing and going forward. But the main thing is I had to make that decision that this is what I'm gonna do. It takes small steps to start. I remember for me, I started with just like making my bed every day. I think Jordan Peterson mentions that. It's just a simple task that you do that and then you find something else you can improve on every day. So you just kind of make these little changes every day and you just eventually become a different person who's got different standards. And so, the divorce, I'd say, saved my life. I'm much healthier than I've ever been. I've traveled to places I never would have imagined. I'm supposed to be the average kid who doesn't do anything. I'm supposed to be the average kid who just works 9 to 5 until he's 65, doesn't really travel anywhere, has his boring marriage, his loser kids that he doesn't pay attention to. I mean, that's how my family is, so I kind of thought that was supposed to be me too, but since the divorce, I've met some wonderful people. I've got my own business now. I'm not just working for somebody, doing a half-assed job because I'm not good at it and I don't want to be good at it, and just low confidence. So if you are struggling with divorce of any kind, or if you're in a relationship that's not what you want, if you're like me, I know I felt stuck because I limited myself. I assumed I couldn't do things. I assumed that, sure, that works for other people. If you've seen Saved by the Bell, Zach Morris, or, the popular kids, that works for them. But that's just something that they've internalized and that they've worked on. They're not special. They're not different. They just, I guess they are different, but, it's something you can become. I always listened to what people told me, what was supposed to be true. I was always the quiet kid. I believed it. Just be yourself. Yeah, okay, I'm the quiet kid, so I can't speak up. So just know that you can change. You just have to know what you want. If you want a better relationship, find out ways to get a better relationship. If you don't think that you're gonna be happy with yourself or with your scenario, find ways to change it. There's plenty of ways to go about it. It's not necessarily gonna happen overnight, but I was divorced, I think 7 years now? 8 years maybe? Coming up on 8 years, and like I said, I never would have dreamed I would have this life. I'm supposed to still be in Wisconsin, working for an insurance company, just getting by, coming home, playing the new Zelda game that comes out, ignoring my dogs, or probably by now maybe have a kid that I obviously love, but probably just ignoring like my parents did. So that's how it saved my life. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but I thought I would share that, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.